And here recognize me. We worked together back at the Council of Governments a while back. Prior history, I used to be the 911 director here for Hidalgo, Willis County. Carry a lot of expertise on the aggressive field, 911 safety, concern for safety of life. In that aspect, when I was in the COG, one of the things that I would like to promote a lot was the GIS technology. We came into it, 911 cannot function without that technology because it's the number one source for geolocating somebody in their dire need of an emergency. Somebody dials 911, whether it be from any type of device, we got to be able to find them and locate them as soon as we can. GIS made that possible. So that kind of grew in me in that history and everything. And I would see our, small communities, middle cities and large cities, even the large cities at that point in time, when I was there, maybe one was utilizing it to its full potential. But even the larger cities were struggling with this. And this was 19 plus years ago. We forward the clock 19 years later, now GIS, federal, state, and local government agencies. However, our regions still stay behind. The lack of expertise of GIS knowledge and technology is great in the Valley. However, it's a very powerful resource that all municipalities need to be utilizing from now on. Nowadays, even if you go out for a brand, having a simple study or conceptual design on a project gives you a lot of pointage to get those funds here into the Valley. But being that said, it grew in our heart, and I say away because the beautiful lady over there that you see over there is my wife. So this is a home-based business. We are local, we are regional, our home office is out of San Juan, Texas. We know the Valley's needs, we've seen the dire need in the Valley. And not just Elsa, Edcouch, and Lavinia, all over. Even our well-known communities such as Monte Alto, Cargill, La Blanca, all of those communities are in dire need of this technology. So we took this task, a huge task, under our umbrella and to try to subsidize those needs for cities, private sectors, educational sectors that don't have the resources to be able to provide this. Hence, the birth of AIM GIS Solutions about 2 years ago. We established this company. We're very young, we're very small, but we packed a lot of experience in our history. Knowing that GIS was a driving force, we also made it a point to become what they call an SRE partner. SRE is one of the world leaders in GIS technology. They deploy the software solutions. We don't sell software. We don't develop software. We use that. We use what's there already available, where you procure your own license, and we build everything on your license, on your software, and everything that you have a relationship with SRE. That's another strong belief of ours. And I've seen it countless of times where local municipalities go into a contract with a third-party vendor that they build this whole big solution. And guess what? Contract doesn't get renewed. That solution goes away, and the local municipality has to start with a new implementation and deployment of a new service or solution. So with the licenses and capabilities they have, we try to build applications, resources for your use that are going to stay with you. We come in as expertise, build all of that for you. But another goal that we have in mind is to make you self-sufficient. Future years to come, then you hire somebody, that you build those expertise, and then you run the show internally speaking. Unfortunately, you've been hearing the scenarios. You build them, they grow, they're not experienced, and they go up north where a job that pays here, $25,000, it's paying 2 or 3 times more over there. And even now, regionally, I have just lost a couple of people that I've trained throughout this past 5 years, and just because TechSide is almost doubling their salary, there they go. So it is very hard to retain talent. And that's an issue that all of us live through and that we have to adhere to. The bottom line, that's our main vision. And to make this technology grow, make the local government entities self-sufficient, and for them to, furnish on this. And then internally speaking, they can keep on with this. Yeah. So today, 3 things that I want to talk to you a little bit about more GIS, make sure that you understand what GIS is, what are the benefits, what can it do for you. The cost of an address and issue. What are we seeing in this Delta area that is an issue with the addressing, and what after actions we should take to make those changes a success throughout the region. So before I jump, this is the first section. Does anybody know what GIS is? You saw a great example of it, except for Mr. I don't want to involve him because he knows all about it.
Yeah, no, I won't answer. Yes. But
So see, this is the common trend. And it is not bad. I mean, it's just that we have to get that education out there. So under this, we'll cover what is GIS for you to understand what it stands for and technology, current work that we're doing in the Delta area, and what are some more of the benefits of GIS. So GIS stands for Geographic Information Systems. How many of you know the word IT? You're an organization, I need IT to help me. That's common, right? Information technology, your computer breaks down, I need to reset my password and everything. Well, you can think about GIS like kind of like the cousin of IT. They're not the same. Don't confuse them, because we have an IT specialist here and I can put him on the spot and tell me what you can do in GIS. His answer will be nothing. Ask him, what can you do in GIS?
go
And that's a misconception. People think that we have a great expert that's IT and they should know GIS. They should be able to do this for us. No. I grew up in the IT world. That was my world. That was my nature. By academia, I'm an electrical engineer. By practice, I'm civil engineering. But my minor is IT. I grew up in the IT world. I touched that computer and I never let it go ever since. However, this thing came around 2005. It fell in my lap. Beautiful closet, all closed and sealed there at the Council of Governments. Packages unopened of this technology were there. And I asked, what's this? It fell in my lap, something beautiful. That when I took that technology, integrated it with IT and used the resources, oh man, my world just got brighter and bigger and orbits of all the potential technologies that we could use. So that's what GIS stands for. It helps us capture stories, data, and then, furthermore, it helps us answer several questions that we got asked today. Please. You just heard a great example. Where do we want to bring in those site selectors? Well, there's so many factors. Having a visual view of it also has a great industrial park, Monte Cristo and Broadway. But how does that impact what Hidalgo County RMA is doing? Will it benefit to have it there? Will it improve it? Do you need to make a different decision %? Infrastructure. There's power poles there. Electricity is there. And just because there's a power pole there, it doesn't mean that the proper transformers or necessary transmission lines are there to suffice the need of electricity. Water, sewer, all of that can be digitized, mapped out, and then you can see what infrastructure you have for a site selection to be done more better out there. Next slide. Current work in the area. Well, currently we serve as the consultants for Elsa and Edcouch. We're currently right now building a lot of the data, standardizing a lot of the data. For the past couple of months, one of the primary concerns of these two entities was the address. We're at the final stages of finishing that. Both entities, we presented our audit, the issues that we found, what we were needing to correct. Right now, we're almost at the resolution process end till of it, where we're adjusting the addresses, fixing the addresses, identifying what property owners will be impacted that will need to be notified. So that's all what an addressing process is that we're doing right now. But besides that, then we work into another session there. Because of the lack of expertise, the technology is very inexpensive and affordable nowadays, right? And it gives you so many bells and whistles. We're gonna see some examples on the live examples here shortly. But the lack of having somebody that first understands how to standardize data, what type of data to look for, how to put this data on the web, how to bring it into the program, that's the major issue that our local government entities have right now. There's not that many of me out there. Throughout the valley, people that are experts in this technology that can do the sort of things that we do, I can count them with this hand right here. And they boil down to probably about this. Okay, in the entire valley, in the 4-county area, there's probably about these 4 people that are at the level that we provide the expertise in overall. You might have somebody that is efficient, at the desktop application, but they lack all the web integration services and how to get applications built for our workforce, our frontline employees, to collect data, to verify that a manhole is there, that a water line is actually there, or a sewer line is there. So we lack that expertise in the valley. So that says here currently, to mention just some few things, we're providing administration services for the online cloud system. Now you can have your GIS data all online that creates integration through all your different platforms. If you were in the IT world 15 years ago or maybe 10 years ago, to update one system to another system with another system with data, you would have to go around with a little flash drive, take my flash drive to this server and update it, take it to this other server and update it because there was a change on city limits, right? So you have your PD servers, you have to go there and update it because they're responsible for the response. You have to go over here to your permitted system because now they have to update it because those people are going to have to pull permits for the annexation of the city. Nowadays, the powerful integration of web integration makes that all go away. I make a change on my desk right here, it transfers all over the applications that we see. Then we get into database development. We build, planning and zoning databases, utility infrastructure databases, public safety databases, planning and zoning, all of the type of databases that you can think that can be done geospatially speaking, we build that. So as a live example here, we're going to exit the presentation right now, and we're going to take you to some real things that we're doing right now, and they're mainly on the web. So here is the start of what now you can consider your online cloud server system. S3 provides this. Upon you purchasing a license from S3, you get all of this belts and whistles. You get an online system where you can house all your data. My IT person in the room can be gracious enough to say, well, I don't have to now over this overhead server that I have to look on, configure web services, open up ports so web service applications can run completely, have username authentication process. He doesn't have to worry about that. Once you set it all up, it's all on the S3 clouds, servers, providers and everything. They have redundancy galore. We go down here with a small web, we're out. Yet these servers have redundancies to major areas, and one of them is probably in Florida, Miami, which responders and other major networks are through as well. So having this online kind of alleviates some of the headache and some of the economic impact that an organization has. To give you a quick view of that economic impact, ArcGIS Server or ArcGIS Enterprise, what they call it, if you want to house it internally with me, license is about $10,000 plus an additional maybe $20,000 on hardware and setups and networking that you have to do. And upkeep of that, probably still another $10,000 per year. Who has that kind of money right now to do that? First is purchasing a 690 chief, right? And then you get all of this. 10,690. I think it's an easy decision to make. But then the expertise, you need that expertise. So here, this is the housing warehouse for all the data and everything. If we can go to content, please, at the menu. Here's where all the information gets housed. You control everything. This is back in our clients or our constituents hardly ever see this because this is a headache. You don't mess with this. That's why you give the expertise. This is where we come. This is where we build. This is where we put all the applications. One of our recent clients and another entity, hey, we want to make a map of our service district members. Can we do that where it shows the mayor and somebody types in their address and it shows them the information? Of course we can. It's GIS. It's mappable. As long as it's mappable and you feed us data, there's no reason why it shouldn't be able to build. Now, if it gets more complicated, then we have resources with S3 that we can talk to. Hey, how can this be accomplished? But at the cost that you already paid. You're not paying for a third-party vendor. Oh, you know what? We have this whole solution. Then we have this other module. It's an additional cost. And then we want this other module. It's another additional cost. We try to make it as cost-efficient as possible for you. Then the last one is your organization. You have control. This is more for the IT guy where this is where you come and click on organization for me, please. Then you can come and see what members have access to this stuff with Umbrella and all of that. So this is the backend organization platform of ArcGIS Online Administration and Management Services that you got to have somebody constant, see it and see how the health of the system, because if this goes down or if something goes wrong with this, all your application, all your data will be hurting. So some of the live examples, they're the next tab right there. We like we say, you want to put your data out there. You want to map out your data of everything that you have. Me as a developer, Well, I want to see what the city limits of Elsa is, what the city encumber or anything, and what major roads are around there and how city of Elsa is. What map technology, web map applications you're able to do. And then you start throwing data in there. Some of this data, I do hate the disclaimer, it's still being built. We're still working with it. But a lot of it is trying to be built. And as soon as we have a layer, we have some data, we start putting it in there. Right now, some of the infrastructure data that we're developing was kind of put on hold because we switch gears to the primary focus for both entities that we're working on addressing on that scenario. But even if you come here and then you start zooming in, can you zoom in almost to the center of the city? Then you see some activity happening. You start seeing some address points popping up. And then you might want to be able to start, do we have anything with water distribution? If you click on the water distribution system, so some other things should happen throughout the system and start pulling. But then within that group, you start putting things that pertain to the water distribution system. Can you expand the water distribution? Right now we have water lines. Is that what makes all the water distribution system? Is that all that we can think of that we should work on? No, right? What about fire hydrants? Valves, isolation valves? Isolation valves. What else?
Listing then.
None of the water distribution systems. Water tower, right? Well, how do you get this water? Do you just raise on you? You pull it from a ditch? Just give it directly to the public like that? It has to go through what?
Preparation.
Preparation, water plants. So where are the water plants? How is all of this system integrated? So this is the basis and start of that. But once you pull that together, guess what? Somebody mentioned earlier AI, right? With the GIS, then you start getting your data together to bring it into network utilities, which has intelligence added to it. If somebody drops a valve, okay, tell me what's connected to it. Is it going to a fire hydrant? Is it going to somewhere else? So that's the nature of things. But you got to start with a strong foundation for this. If you don't start there, I mean, things are not going to flow the way they are. Right now, one of the biggest headaches of GIS is starting, standardizing the data, gathering the data. And that's the biggest hurdle that we have with starting clients. And I'm always upfront. I tell them, the first year we're with you, that's probably what's going to take us the most time. Getting the data in there and everything. Because once you get it, upkeeping it is going to be the easy part. But if you don't have the foundation, where to start, standardizing and everything, and we like to follow standards. I'm very picky when I digitize data. I don't just put it on my sleeve and say, okay, I'm going to digitize it. Like, no. Every data has a source and documentation for it. And for standardization, for safety of life concern and data that infects, we follow 911 standards. Anything that is addressing street naming conventions, city limit annexations, everything, it follows 911 standards. For local infrastructure data, such as water lines, utilities, and all that, then ESRI has a local government infrastructure data structure. So we put attributes data of information. Is it just easy to put a line and say that it's an 8-inch? Is that enough for operation purposes?
Wrong.
Why not? I already told you the size of it, and there's a water line there. Well, what about the material? Are we concerned about the material? You better be, because even mandates from federal and state agencies, EPA, TCEQ. Recently, all water service providers went through an initial inventory of lead service line inventory, which is something that if City of Elsa, once we get the data, you have to make it public. Based on your service numbers that you have, you make it public or you don't, but TCEQ recommends, regardless of your size, make it public. Because people want to know, hey, have you audited my service line? Do I have any lead in my service line? Anybody in Elsa that did the lead service line inventory? That you guys went out there, checked meter boxes, you did inspections at the box, or how do you identify that it was not lead?
So each individual site was like a line.
And you did the inspections at the meter box?
Yes. All the distribution guys in that's what they did. Yes, one.
So if we get that data, then it becomes a layer that you have here publicly displayed. And guess what? TCQ now is coming down the line saying that's not an initial inventory anymore. Things were forthcoming. Now it's going to be your baseline inventory to identify issues or improvements that you can do because you did find a line that was lead or galvanized and maybe AC piping out there that you might need to replace.
Okay.
So there's so many things that you can do with this. If we jump to another example, another thing that we like to showcase is the next tab. This is physical. There's an application called Survey 123. How many of you deal with a lot of paper forms? Paper form for this, paper form for that, paper form for this, and things of that nature. With Survey 123, you make it digital, and then you start controlling the sourcing of that data. How many of us have the time in the world to go through 20 applications and 15 of them did not even need it to come to you? Come on. No? All of us? No, we don't. With technology, you can limit that. One of the first questions that we always ask when somebody's requesting an address, are you inside city limits? If they know for sure that they're not, if you were to click no on that for me, please, you guide them to the right authorities or to the agency. You know, you're not inside the city limits, please contact the Rio Grande Valley 911 department, so forth and so forth at this number, and that's it. Then the survey will not let them continue. But if they happen to answer yes, because they don't know anything, then you start asking questions of data that is pertaining to the function you're going to do. This is a physical address request. After a new business is coming up, they don't know the address for the facility that they're building, they'll be able to submit this form. We get an email notification because we are serving as the addressing coordinator for City of Elsa and Edcouch. And we establish the address and we respond back without making the hassle faster. Instead of, I have to go to the city, who do I talk to the city? Who can give me the address? I need this to get my permits, licenses, and everything.
Isn't already likes to
Yes. Go on. And not yet, though, but we haven't pushed it because we're focusing. We're going to put it, we need to have discussions. See, they get excited. I mean, like, you got to tell me where you want it, right? Where do we publish it? Where do we push it? But yeah, this is a lot of the things. When we come and work with a client, let me read up front. We're kind of like a silent partner. You have us there, and with like little hands working at the back end and stuff like that. And we're building things. We're constantly building things. And once you're ready for them, okay, let's talk about this now. Where do you want to deploy? Where do you want to have it? Or where do you want to go? Under. But there's a lot of work that has been done. A couple of the last tabs will show you the work that's been done in the back end. And then surveys help you control your forms. If we can click on the next one, please. Then another ideas internally speaking, properties. Recently, I played with modifying what we created for Elsa ADC, where he needs something quick. Click on a property, show the map, and show the information right at the right-hand side. So there's modifications that we're doing right now. We try to get something that when Mr. Rivera meets with an investor or something, he can just click on a property here. For example, click on the old bank. Map zooms in, shows them the information, and something happened. This is a great example, I guess, because it is codependent technology and unity. Technology will always fail. Will it work in a hurricane scenario? Might not. So, but let's go to a different property. I need to check what happened there. But the thing is identifying where the locations are, and then you start seeing this kind of thing. So that's what we're modifying, because he needs to see right away, yes, pictures are good information, but we're modifying where he gets the information. This property, well, sure. How big is it? How much? Where are the nearest things that, are interest for developing this piece of land? So applications of this constantly are being built, and we're modifying it so it's easier for him for click up a button. He has everything he needs to show that investor and make that pitch on there. If we can go to the next step, one of the recent ones we work with him is the Pacific Railroad Trail, right? Want to see the trail and what sidewalks we're missing. I love this Rivera because he's always very thoughtful and says, well, but I want to make it a story. What we did with this project, how we did this project. So his methodology was, let's interconnect our schools. All our schools interconnected first to this trail to give our students, accessibility to sidewalks, to get home safe, to do a safe route of sidewalks and liquid system. The next was the business. Major businesses, inducted areas. HEB and Walmart. And then what was missing and what wasn't missing. So, and then with this, having my engineer and civil engineer was able to provide, some rough cost estimates of what would it take to build those missing sidewalk segments. or to do a different route, per se. Even consideration of restriping the roads, because every time the student crosses, the street might not be striped, you know? Let's jump over to the second to the last. As we build all of this, I started by showing you the back end of all of this, where we house this, the list of projects, applications, and everything. But they're not going to remember 20 different links and all of this and everything. So with the use of hub sites, which is part of your license, when you get it, we're building like a GIS resource page for you. You just come, you're going to be able to come to this website. You're going to be able to see what GIS online maps you have already deployed there. Keep scrolling down. The fire department asks us, hey, can you quickly map out our fire hydrants? So, well, luckily now we are blessed to work in a county that has an appraisal district that is technically not part of the county, but a segregated entity, but flies the county every year. How many of you know that? Aerial imagery available for free to us every year. In 2024, they flew at a 1-inch aerial resolution. I'm going to show you some of that in a little bit, how it looks at the actual GIS program and the accuracy that it gives you, where now if you decide to, at least for the X and Y coordinates, you don't need to have a high accuracy GPS unit, just do it with the aerial image. I took our GPS unit, which is sub-centimeter 9 size, right? And I dropped the point on the aerial on top of an inlet, and I went and GPS that same inlet. Of course, the GPS is always going to be more accurate. But I had a difference maybe of about 4 to 6 inches between the point that I dropped on the aerial and between the point that I collected with the GPS unit. That's what we call the horizontal accuracy on GPS. So we bring those expertise, GPSing as well and drone. So if you can keep scrolling down, some of the mobile apps that we're currently working for our field operations is two of the major ones that I always see. We want to collect structures. Yes, I might be able to digitize everything that I can from as-built plans that you guys give me, or maybe a hard copy map that we scan. We're going to digitize stuff of that. But occasionally we're going to have to send somebody out there. Well, I tell them, well, you know what? Grab your phone. We install the Field Maps app, which is already included. So sign in, open up your data field collection for me. Go and find me that manhole that is in the back of the house that we cannot access or on the alley, and plot it for me. Fill the general information that we have. That's what the data field collector app is going to do for them. But then again, we have development going all the time. And the major thing about development is keeping up with your field operations that you do on that development. Did the street get tested? Did the water line and sewer line get tested? And when I mean testing about compaction, densities, backfills, make sure that all of that gets recorded. Yeah, the GeoLab tech is going to do that and record it, but you internally, can you verify and confirm to city council that this street fell because compaction did not pass?
Oh, good.
I have had with municipalities that they didn't keep internal records. The lab says, yeah, it got all tested. Subdivision breaks open, and the street is already alligator cracking. There's already sinkholes and everything within the subdivision, just trying to build homes on it. This happened recently in one of the clients that we're waiting. So I asked the question, where is your testing documentation from this? And track management of projects and all of this. So the last thing on this one, other GIS applications that we're building on the back end. I'm very big on damage assessment. March, we got hit with waters, rain, storm, wind that nobody expected. So right now, I'm going around talking to our clients. By the way, Elsa and Edcouch, we need to have our damage assessment meeting to get ready for this hurricane season and make decisions. But back in 2018, the state had not deployed something like this. I built this application for a particular client and everything. They worked great. They used it. They used to have binders with forms, and they would go out there and tell me, no. So we built this for them, and it worked great and everything. We started building it. Back then, I used to work with Chief Snyder out of Edinburgh. He had very good communication and contact with Tino. He kind of showcased the work we did, and guess what was born from there? How many of you know about Tino, MyStat, and PStat?
Yeah.
Some of those resources were born, but now the states have made it bigger and, has maintained it and everything. So at this point in time, I'm recommending my clients even, at this point in time, you don't need to keep your public one internally. Just have them use TDA. Right now, iStat, and I'm working with, I'm trying to contact somebody at TDA where we have access to that web feature service that when ELC operations go live, you start seeing what's coming in for your region automatic. And that's going to be our recommendation. Internally speaking, I'm still recommending we'll build one for the city because we have the habit of sending our own personnel. What about our city facilities? We got to inspect our city facilities, make sure that they're doing good, or other things that we might see out on the road. That is information you can keep internally still. So definitely there's a conversation sideways that we might want to here in the next couple of weeks talk about. Damage assessment, just be ready. How it will work, probably trained staff. They are going to go out there and do this type of assessments and just be ready to know because God forbid we get hit with something and we're not ready for it on that sense. So GIS encompasses a lot of this live applications, some of the permits applications that they've been asking for. Ms. Selma and them, this is kind of the first time that they see these resources in a structured way. So we'll be building all of this and finalizing some of this. Now with the better structure of Survey 123, a lot of those permits can probably be combined to one single form. Where if they select for mechanical, you get asked the questions for mechanical. If they select for a health permit inspection or something, it asks those questions. Instead of having a lot of those forms, we're going to be able to merge all into one and then just run operations of one single application. That's what we're thinking from. A lot of this work, like I said, it's kind of on the, all right now, the addressing part of things, this kind of helps us stay away. And I get creative. I've been doing local government for the past 7 years. And things that I see and everything, as everybody said earlier, just because they're bigger cities, bigger metropolitan areas, it doesn't mean that we cannot do it. Or it doesn't mean that we cannot do it better in that sense. There's always room for improvement. So whether you're small or a large city, it doesn't mean that. You can still furnish and be even better. Some of the stuff that we're doing here, some of the bigger cities don't have. So, on there. All right? Some of the bigger cities contact me and, hey, how would you run this process? And I give them ideas, but then I let them know because they're bigger and they have somebody. Yeah. Right? They don't need our help. My concern is a lot with our municipalities that don't have this resource available. Lastly, in that note, the one that says Elsa with the little color codes, it's hard for me to keep a lot of the stuff here. So another tool that is available now with Microsoft free, if you have the license, is Microsoft List. It's like a task-oriented program. I put here everything that we're working on, what has been completed, what's pending, what hasn't started. And I throw here everything for each one of the clients that we have and then how we're working it and everything. This is our internal organization and mechanism. So if we can go back to the presentation, please. So yeah, definitely, that is the current work that we're doing. Some of the benefits, a little bit just elaborating on the benefits of GIS. First one, it's going to help you have better decision making. If you visualize it, if you get idea, if you get intel, you're going to have that decision making. And it's going to make you be able to be more transparent with your constituents and hold you accountable. Because now you're publishing some information of a project and you say, I'm 50%. And I go out there and says, well, then I haven't even started clearing the road. How are you 50%? So it's going to make you do that. Improve public service, A lot of us nowadays are new baby borns are kind of like born with a tablet in your hand or something. A lot of us went, hey, do you have this online? No, well, you have to come in and fill this form up and everything. A lot of those things can be improved. Engagement through dashboard and maps. The more you push your data out there, the more informed the public is and the better they are. And assist with, asset tracking, management, infrastructure, sidewalks, signs, etc. I'm now with that. So those are some of the benefits of GIS. Going into what we're here, it's the cause of an address and issue. What led to that address and issue to happen? What did we do to identify and resolve this issue? Basis of that and the resolution process that we're undergoing right now. So if we can go to the costs. And this is typical. This is not just Edcouch or Elsa. This is typical across the board here in the Valley. Unfortunately, the lack of having an address coordinator or expertise, it's great. How many of you know what the center point is for Elsa? I mean, people from Elsa don't answer.
That's true. 8817.
Huh?
8817.
I don't know 88 or 107.
He is supposed to go to Oregon.
No. I don't want the coordinates. He's in the right track, but I don't know 88 or 107. This is how picky I am on addressing. Edinburgh Avenue and
Texas. No,
right? Legality of street names.
are you going to help us change Edinburgh Avenue and Dr. Texas call it Elsa Avenue and Edcouch Avenue so it's not a
Let me give you the answer to you blunt and honestly. Texas is not the address and authority inside your city limits.
Here we go.
They might own the road, but you are the address and authority within inside your city limits. So if you present a change of name, the 107 can stay as parentheses, or it will always be known as State Highway 107 for their purposes, but they're not the address and authority. And part of the being the address and authority or address coordinator is that you control the street naming of that. Take that to heart. Because I have fought that at the Washington level, at the Austin level, internationally. That is number one. That is one of the biggest failures in an entity. And not having an addressing coordinator or a person with that expertise cannot give you that vision. And I'll go toe to toe, or if Texas says something else. One of the ones that they were very picky about were the interstates. That they said, we're changing the interstate names, right? But all the other ones, you should work with it and let them know, hey, we're having these issues. Well, your call.
Yeah, when now you brought that up, Mr. Ibarra, I put TJ Avenue.
I would recommend not to do that.
Well, recommendations are like
No.
But bottom line, know what your responsibility is, and you can fight Texas with that. Well, I'm having this addressing issues, and for this purpose, we want to make this change. They'll budge. They'll budge. Because bottom line, they're not the ones that are going to be dealing with the addressing. You are. You are. And even the RGV 911 has no authority inside city limits. And that relationship is a one-way relationship. You report to them what's happening inside your city limits. Now, if other issues arise, then you clarify with them. As long as you have your ordinance that you made the annexation, you provide the proper documentation, everything, there's no reason nowadays why your city limits should not be matching in the 911 system. I know we have an issue, but it can be talked. I can put it that. Once again, coming from the 911 world, I can give you this advice. I can tell you, and I can go with them and also talk to them. So they're very willing to work. As a matter of fact, this addressing issue, I already been laying my seats and tell them, I'm coming. I've been talking to RGB 911. We've been talking to United States Postal Services. We've been talking to the appraisal district. Hey, major things are going to come and major changes are going to come in these two communities. Be advised. Now that we have laid the seed, eventually it will come. So that's number one. Understanding that. The number two is understanding your addressing schema. I asked because of the center points, Broadway and Edinburgh, because that starts your increasing of ranges. North, south, east. It defines your pre-directionals as well. And then it defines your parity, events and odds. Where do events fall on what side of the road? If you don't have those basic concepts and understanding of addressing schema, that's a major issue of causing addressing issues in your future. The last one is keeping up with growth. Very notorious in this region because of the lack of the first two. 911, RGV 911 is very good at addressing subdivisions outside city limits. You annex that subdivision and hey, it's address. Suddenly you have a subdivision that is in the 100, 200 blocks with 7,800, 8,000 block ranges that it was not address. Re-address. Once again, you're the addressing authority inside city limits. When you annex somebody, you better re-address up and put up to the city's addressing scheme. Standardize them. Developments. A new subdivision comes. Well, let me send it to RGV 911. Let me get. Then you start losing control there. Remember, control the street naming convention. I'm even very picky on the street naming conversion and for operational purposes. If you have a center point, we like to recommend applying the pre-directions. Because why? Me as a new ambulance driver, if I see a street that has east and south in front of it, I know it's going to be somewhere in my southeast quadrant that I got to go to. This also helps with duplication of street names. And I've seen countless of stories, but the worst one was when I had to go explain to a 4-year-old why his mother had passed away because an ambulance didn't get to them on time when she was having a heart attack. And the reason is that existed 2 streets with the same name, the same block ranges, and they went to the wrong location instead of where the emergency was. We try to avoid whenever we coordinate with the cities that a new development happens. As soon as the notice to proceed goes into effect for construction, we want to start getting involved. We want to start checking those names. We want to start telling the developer, you cannot use this name because Mr. J.J. Vargas Boulevard Avenue already exists.
Thank you, sir.
Not putting on this flag. You need those kind of individuals. Have that foresight. They can see that. Because then that's what's going to avoid you headaches in the future. So, the next slide. So, basis of resolving this, you gotta establish a good foundation. Make sure that the accuracy schema is well established. What data are you gonna start with? I'll tell you this much. For these entities, we started with 911 data because here at the Valley, unfortunately, there's no one better than 911 to house physical addresses. Physical addresses. Not mailing, not anything else. All right? And outside your city limits, they're the authority. Should be Hidalgo County, but for so many years, it was granted and it was ordained, that the RGB 911 would take that responsibility and assist the county with that. Since 19-something, back then. I remember Judge J.D. Salinas back then, if I'm not mistaken. So there was collaboration between them and the COG. So establishing that good foundation, why are you going to go based on? Because then you're going to compare this information with other databases out there to make sure what are the discrepancies, right? Use state-of-the-art technology to manage this process, GIS. It's a base resource that you can have out there. Can you use spreadsheets? Oh, yeah, you can use spreadsheets, yeah. Can you use your permitting system? Yeah, maybe. If somebody's putting the mid there correctly, or somebody spelled Edinburgh without a G and then something else, your GIS technology bets all of that. Once it's in there, the naming convention is there, and it's standardized all that. Then, verify, validate, and compare against other addresses. There's 3 major databases that we always work with and compare against because it impacts everybody else. My main concern is always safety of life, so 911 is one of them. We'll talk about it a little bit more later. Then the other major headache that I get, you change my address and I didn't get my beautiful magazine that I get every single month. The mailing database system. And then where we pay taxes. 2 things are for sure in this world. We will die and we will continue paying taxes until we die. Right? So taxes as well. Yeah. So compare against other databases is what we're doing. So the resolve process that we took, we identified all the different issues that we saw in the addressing schemas for both of our clients here. We found missing addresses, a parcel with a house that had no address, and the appraisal district had no address. Nobody has reported an address. How many of you remember those times where we used to have rural route 1, bus 250B?
Yes.
Through 2000, around 2010, 2009, 2010, we worked with all our USPS postal offices throughout the region. We took their route sheets and converted them to physical addresses, and we took them there. So we still have an issue of where their existing we could probably have an actual combination of when that got converted. So that's identifying all the issues. We found missing addresses, issues with parity. You had events where they needed to be odds, or suddenly you had 100, 104, 205, 108. You had a 200 address within the wrong block range. We find those kind of things. We did find some good valid addresses, based on that. So that's where the first part of our resolution process. We conducted that audit. We identified all that. We gave City of Elsa and Edcouch numbers that they could present to City Council, which they have, and all of that. And then we're going to come back and say, okay, this is cool. Actually, that impacted. Then we need to establish the new addresses or update the address that we're currently working with. That's where, calculating the address and everything. Yeah, it takes a little bit of math because the schema, either you work with 16 blocks in a mile, 10 blocks in a mile. It depends. All entities work different. Edcouch has something peculiar. They do.
That's upstairs.
They do 16 blocks to the north, 16 blocks to the east, 16 blocks to the west, but 8 blocks south. So you can have a mix and match of address and schema. As long as you have it established and it's understandable, you can still work with that.
Excuse me, I got a question. Across the street from my house, so they just built, it was an open lot there, been there for a while. And they just built the house there. And they got an address from you guys, and they gave the address to that property to the address of the house that was right next to it.
Okay.
So then they got their bill, and the people that live in the house makes their an elderly couple, and they're all worried now because now they got to transfer all their information at the same address, so that vacant lot. How will you fix that?
So the issue will be updating the new address, as long as it fits in your block range. If it doesn't fit in the block range,
Fixing, right?
yeah, let me know which one it is so we can fix it.
We're gonna start looking.
Yeah, so we find because we're gonna see right now the initial audit that we did was with the 911, how it's bouncing out there and everything. Right now we're going through the appraisal district. That's what's taking us the time now.
Okay.
Because now we're comparing what. Remember, the appraisal district has an obligation of every year publishing a certified tax roll record, and you're certifying all the data that's there. It's being certifiable. Well, one of the attributes in the appraisal district data, it's called situs. That is known as the physical address that you as an entity need to report to the appraisal district. So in a nutshell, that's what we already planned to see, because we're going to tell them, hey, they have a GIS department. I told the guys, hey, I'm going to be sending you a whole brand new GIS shapefile associated with property ID numbers and everything, that you're going to need to make those correlations. Changes at the appraisal district can happen 2 ways. 1, me personally as a constituent go and report that I have an issue with my address, or 2, a local government entity or the addressing authority reporting that. So you have a lot of authority as far as when it comes to addressing who you tell and where they need to change. That's why you have that responsibility, and that's my third bullet. It's not good if we do all of these changes and updates and all of this promoting of the addresses if we don't communicate those changes. That is the last part that we're on right now, in communicating those changes, not only internally to the department, because it's also going to impact department operations. That's why for them, internally, that web map, online map that we showed, it's going to be vital. Because suddenly they knew that property was 205 in the 100 block, but now it's going to change to 106. So they're going to have those resources available too. And this kind of segues into the after actions. If we can go to the next slide on the after actions of this is something that we like to call like liaison services. We're kind of that middle guy working on your behalf and talking to these other third-party entities. And we talk the lingo. We tell them, hey, your system, because we know their systems, we've been working with the systems for the past 19 years. We tell them, hey, we need this to happen, these changes to happen on the MSAG and in your GIS database systems. The primary one that we're getting first, with the get-go, once again, we're here to address a safety concern. It's RGB 911. They're already on the hook. They're already waiting for us to send them, a shapefile and data for them to start working and updating the database system as far as it goes for streets and addresses with RGB 911. The other 2 agencies that we work very closely to is the USPS and HCAP. Now, for these addresses to trickle out there in the normal wall, you always want to hit the USPS, because then you get your FedExes, then you get your UPSs, then you get your DHLs systems, because they all feed off of the United States Postal Services database. And I'm not talking about only dealing with them here locally with your postmasters and your post office and everything. We're also going to reach out to the regional office, which is located in San Antonio, Texas, that oversees this whole region for us. But the most important one is the last one that we have there. We cannot make these changes without notifying our constituents and our citizens. Is there going to be uproar? Yeah, because they're changing our address, but they'll be provided a physical letter, you as the entity notifying them of the change, which then they can check that over. I did reconfirm with the post office in preparation of this change coming. Many people's concern is, you're changing my address, I'm not going to get my mail. Well, you still get it. You still get it. Post office, for a transition of an address, they've gotten a lot better and efficient. They will honor both addresses for about 3 months because it takes a lot less now in their systems. Before, it used to be a month, a year before. But now they will honor it for about 3 months, both addresses that you'll be receiving your mail and everything, and then until the transition cycles. Systems have gotten so much better and so much sophisticated. They still honor up to a year, but only if you're moving actual locations. Like if you change from one house to another, that's the 1 year time frame that they still have under. So those are the agencies, but as after actions, this is what we're going to follow. Once we complete this, once we have all our reports, then these agencies and primarily the constituents will be notified of these changes.
I have a question. How does the Google and Apple universe work?
So in that show, we're also preparing some pamphlets, some instructions on how they do that. It is not the entity responsibility to report that change, and you do not want to pick up that liability because it's very easy to put a wrong number for a business, and then suddenly that business is not getting their businesses or people find them wrong on Google or something. You leave that responsibility to them. So we have created some of the forms already in which we're going to give to the cities and everybody. And if somebody is, how do I update? Here's a flyer of how you do it directly with.
What I think one of the issues that may be unique to this area is if you look up Mario Leal Park, it shows Mario Leal Park at Couch Spexons.
Yeah. That's
I think they're trying to take it from us.
For city facilities, the forms will work with the cities.
A lot of accuracy you Google and Elsa show Edcouch.
And right now, because primarily they're being fed off of the United States Postal Service and this size. Once we update that and the cycle trickles through that should improve through that mechanism. And now, if we have a case-by-case basis that a business or the city itself wants to make sure that all the facilities and parts and everything are correct on Google, you can still do that directly yourself.
And I think just to tie this into my view, economic development-wise, we had a family practice clinic try to open up next to Don Pedro's across Walmart, and they couldn't. When they were signing up for their Medicare, Medicaid, insurance claiming stuff, they put their address that the planning department gave them that was in line with everything else. And then when Medicare, Medicaid Googled them, it popped up as Edcouch, and they denied us.
So here's where the breakdown happened there. The city established the address, it gave it to them, and did they provide a formal documentation for them to submit to the agency and adopt the address? Because that's another thing. When you give them that letter becomes a legal documentation from the city to tell anybody outside of the city limits, whether you're state, federal, or whatever agency you are, this is the correct address. I don't care what Google is saying. I don't care what this is saying. This is the address you have to put in your system. In that sense. I don't know if the letter was given or not, and they needed to present that letter. Now, at that point, it's out of your control. If they didn't present that letter, people show up to me and say, well, no, give me this address. Okay, give me the letter. What letter? Because I know the process, I know what to ask. So that's where it means. There's certain liabilities that you don't want to pick up on yours. Due to what your responsibility is, and hold the constituents accountable for their part of this work. Next slide, please. Okay. So just in conclusion, just some key takeaways. The address initial is being fixed, but it will take time to cycle through those other databases that we're talking about.
On that regard, Barry, I know you're working on it with the application aspect of it. When you want to give it back to the situation in regards to form, what about our database that currently has the misinformation? Like how is...
Which database are you talking about?
Or water database. So I'm good.
So third-party integration of GIS data. For most part, nowadays, most third-party have integration with GIS. So we'll start swapping your database with the updated address.
Pretty outdated. We both have an integration.
Okay. Then either exports of CSVs or Excels. They have this
A380.
import technology should be still be there, even though if it's outside. Which program are you working with?
It's RBS,
RBS.
XML based. It's all, but what it is.
Well, we can extract an XML from GIS. You can also extract to XML. Right now, we're talking techie terms that we're confusing everybody.
But the manual hit track is the question.
We can revisit that, but there might be a way of not having to do manual entry.
Right, because that was going to be the real, like, you can give us access, but if they're not in our utility system.
Yeah, we'll try to convert it to the metadata that you need it in, so that way we can get it back.
And then regards to photos, so what we were trying to do is just get an aspect or a visual aspect of what's out there, right? So you can take a picture with your application when you're registering it as a license. What if we wanted to have that picture outside an application?
You just publish it and make it public for your application.
But like, how do we get it out of the app?
URL.
Upload or...
I give you a URL and that's it.
Okay.
You have it, or you can export the pictures.
Do you know what we're trying to do is we're wanting to obviously update, as everybody is our system, our database.
All right.
And we want to give it information as to what we have out there. And one is that if we have an actual image, we can kind of contain, quote. The only is that we're ironed up our Guardian here. Now, again, a perfect image. So, for the Guardian reservation, we have your different layers as to where you can map out. We all have basically what you can do, but for every layer, right? And then once you get to that aspect or that point, you have a visual with a picture. AI has been doing the loops or doing the work to do it. It'll help us tailor our layout more so to tell us, hey, based off of this image, what needs to be done? It could be a broken meter, it could be anyway.
You saw that data collection GPS field maps that were working? Your field map application does that.
Right. But I just need to know if we can get it out. It's the simple process as if we go, we have somebody doing, field surveying, doing the snippets. When they get back to the office, address and the fixture, can we have a database that this kind of gets uploaded to, or is it maybe like a URL, like you said, we just, every time we get a picture and an address, you just put it in here.
Does the following word resonate with you? API?
Yes. So you got an API?
There's your answer.
Okay, now let's speak about API and webhooks. So,
yeah, API with webhooks. I can make this system notify you if something happens through webhooks and all that.
And basically, you want to do, because what we're looking at the other day, okay, you can have and give us, but it's not going to be where we use it, if you will. Yeah.
But we can build it.
Right.
On that. So, yeah, so that's the beauty about GIS. It's so diverse. I like to call it that it's like SAP. It gets in everyone. So it's nice to have it. So some of those takeaways, nowadays being so very inexpensive, is very affordable to deploy those. And nowadays, like I was saying, any third-party vendor that has any mapping solution with it, their backend system is Esri. It's GIS. Those dashboards, those beautiful maps that they're showing. Mr. Rick over here showed a map of, border of Mexico and the United States. Guess what's right in his system? Esri. Yeah, it's driven. I can probably hack his system and get those layers and then just showcase them as well. It's open to the public. It's open to the public. You gotta call keywords open to the public. I'm a white hat nerd. I'm a white hacker. I like hacking things and then letting people know, hey, be careful with this. Your data is more in that sense.
If I get a call from GIS Guru, I'll know exactly where to point this question.
Anyway, the last bullet kind of goes with your question there. The GIS integration with technologies makes it easier. So this is third-party integrations through APIs, webhooks. And even if that doesn't work, believe me, we can get very creative internally. Remember, we talk the IT world, but plus the GIS on there, we can get very creative. Next steps, we continue to update and maintain the address and data. We will continue to report our final numbers of who is going to get to notify in each one of the entities. We're probably at the last stage this week, maybe next week. As soon as that, we'll be reaching out. And then, okay, we're ready to go. Right? For both. With some all sitting going to be completed about 10. You can think. And you missed that. They have to leave most of the morning. And we have spoiled. They're going to jump on board as well. we've been patient with Mr. Barco. Whenever he's ready, we're more than willing to talk. And then, keep growing the GIS program. I mean, now that you have ventured down this road, whether we're part of the city as we are right now or anything, or we're not, we cannot urge you enough to continue the growth of the GIS program. You must. It's a thing that you have to have in your arsenal of tools ready to go and deploy, because everybody else is. So just I'll open up real quick for a couple of questions or anything that anybody has.
Waiting this way.
Well, if not, I mean, just next slide for that matter. This is who we are. We're NGIS. And I can say your local friendly GIS solutions and service provider. We're down the road. ECB can come at any point in a given time. Leave you with our website. Our website is if you can show the website, you can find us on the web. You query us on Esri. We're probably one of the first ones to come out as well. So we're here to serve you, help you in any way we can. Even if we're not in the contract, we're always here to assist for that matter. So there's no questions.
And also our little sponsors. So thanks.
Thanks.